Welcome to Centre Court, thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in Northern Victoria. Right here on Centre Court is where we take a deeper look at the athletes, coaches and the voices who define netball in Australia. The conversation unfolds in four quarters, giving our guests room to share who they are away from netball, the highs and the lows of their career and the future they are building beyond the court. It's honest, it is reflective and it's the side of the game you don't always get to see. Today's guest is an elite Australian athlete who rose through the WA pathway, became a leader across multiple high-performance programs and starred in the Suncorp Super Netball competition. She is now making the bold transition into AFLW after being a foundation member and Defender of the Year at the Melbourne Mavericks. It is Liv Lewis. Liv, welcome into Centre Court.
Thanks, Kelsey. Oh my God, that was such an in-depth, pumped me up a little bit before the
You deserve it, Queen.
So
you deserve
nice.
it. You're doing
Thank
so
you.
much, and we're going to touch on all of the different facets of your life. There's so much to Liv Lewis now. You are not just a netballer, and I think that's always been the case for you. But we do start every single episode by asking our guests a simple question. Thanks to Priceline Pharmacy, we know health and beauty. What season of life are you in right now?
Oh, it's a great question. I feel like the season of life I'm in, I want to say settled but excited, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm in a really good place. Life is good. I feel really settled in life away from sport, which you touched on is kind of my whole thing. But at the same time, I've obviously made this transition into something brand new. So it's something very exciting as well. So there's a little bit of unknown, a bit of excitement, but I feel really settled in that and very grounded, which is a really nice place to be.
When you talk about being settled, do you also mean sort of mentally? I feel like the chaos of netball, moving states, finding your way to Melbourne, you're a WA athlete, which we touched on at the start. Are you now sort of feeling settled into the vibe of what Melbourne looks like too?
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it. I think, I've been here for 4.5 years now, which has just absolutely flown by, to be honest. So yeah, in my 5th year here, I feel really settled, feel really grounded. I think that definitely helps, feeling like I've got a good home base here. I'm not missing home too much at this stage.
What about what you've moved into? So we've seen you in commentary gigs, emceeing, court announcing. It's a pathway that you've gone into. What does a day in your life look like now? You're an AFLW athlete, but also trying to do everything on the side. What does your day look like? Yeah, it's a funny one. It's all very sporadic. I'd say it's quite funny when people ask me, oh, what are you doing outside of footy? Are you working? And I go, yes, but it looks a little bit different. I'm not just rocking up to a job on my days off. So it's really fun getting to do, having the Backcourt podcast, that's, takes up a couple of hours of my week. Obviously I have to watch the games on the weekend, so still very much in touch with the netball, doing the emceeing with the Mavs. So again, another weekend gig. It's all over the shop a little bit, but I'm really enjoying it. And, at the moment, footy is definitely still my number one priority and performance. We're leading into pre-season now, so definitely knowing that it's going to ramp up very shortly. But any opportunities I have outside of that, I'm grabbing with two hands and running with it. But yeah, it's definitely not a traditional kind of work life at the moment, which I love. Could you do a 9 to 5?
God, no. Never. I'll retire and I'll find something else to do that's not 9 to 5. I stand by that.
Let's go back to Liv Lewis growing up. We've mentioned in WA, you're from Rockingham. What did your childhood look like? Were you as vibrant with the personality that you have now, or has that sort of come with age? No, I've definitely always been a very confident child, I think. Mum and Dad definitely help facilitate me, feeling like I can just be myself. I'm one of 5 as well, so lots of kids growing up. We grew up on a block of land a little bit out of Rockingham, but 5 acres, and just spent a lot of time outside, such a big sporting family. That was a big part of our weekends, and yeah, just being able to run around, do my thing. Netball was a massive part of that as well. Talk about being one of 5 and your parents as well. Who was the biggest influence on you in your childhood? Yeah, so definitely my parents. They sacrificed so much for all 5 of us. Worked really hard to put us through school, and we were all so involved in our sport as well. And I look back and I'm how did they cart 5 of us around to multiple? We all did little athletics,
Josh, my brother, played footy, did a bit of soccer as well. I played netball, basketball. My sisters all played netball, did a little athletics and a bit of basketball as well. So it's like their schedules would have just been so hectic. I remember Dad would be waking up, when I kind of progressed through the pathway, and training was on before school and I had to get up to the city, and that's probably about a 45 to an hour drive, and training would start at 6 o'clock. So we'd be up and out of the house by 4:30, and then Dad would wait around in the car, probably have a nap while I'm training, drive me back to school, and then go off and go to work. So yeah, just so much sacrifice, but very, very grateful.
That is the key message that we've found on a lot of these episodes, is that the parents are just such a big influence. But you also mentioned your 5 siblings. Were you the best athlete in the family?
Well, I'm the only one that's, made a career out of it. So, yeah, I'd say so. But, my younger sister played state basketball when she was younger. So, yeah, I definitely got the sportiest gene, I think.
You talk about being settled in Melbourne. Let's talk about your personal life as well. And we'll get a little bit deeper into everything that comes with all of that in quarter 3 when we go deeper dive into your life. But you and your partner Riley got engaged last year. Yeah. What does Riley mean to you? You've spoken about your family, but I know she's a big support as well.
Yeah, no, we're getting married, so I guess she is kind of my family now. It's so nice. She's just the best. We've been together for over 5 years now. Did long distance for a couple of years. I feel like we've been very intentional in everything we've done in our relationship, and she's just been the best support for me. I feel like she's really supported me in my personal growth, which I think is something that I really value in our relationship. We're definitely, she's a strong independent lady, so I've been a strong independent lady as well, and yeah, she just builds me up and lets me do my thing. But yeah, she's the best. Love her.
Love her. If you're listening, Riley, we love you.
Yep.
And she moved from WA as well. She
Yep.
made the move over. Was that challenging at times, and feeling potentially the pressure of she's relocated her whole life to support you and your dreams? Was there ever a challenge in your relationship around that too?
Yeah, I think, I moved over, so we'd been together for just less than a year, and I think we knew we wanted to be together, but she was very big on, she had a job she really loved back in Perth, and we definitely had conversations, but it was very much I was going to go to Melbourne, and, that was me chasing my dream, and, we definitely spoke about, she didn't feel ready to move over, and it was definitely, a couple of years before she really felt ready, and I think that that's a testament to us and our relationship, being able to have those conversations. And I didn't want to rush her over. I knew that we'd be okay, we'd work through it. And yeah, since she's been over, I feel like it's just made me feel so much more settled as well, which is really nice. And she's settled in lovely. She's a teacher, she's found a school she really loves. Was really lucky she moved over when I started playing for the Mavs. A lot of the partners all kind of moved to Melbourne from the Mavericks players as well. So they all formed a little group as well, which I think was really helpful in kind of helping her settle in.
Social netball, is that what they played
There was a social netball team.
I remember seeing that.
There was a social netball team. The numbers have dwindled now. Riley broke her finger pretty early on, and she said that's actually me done. But we were there courtside. It was funny. It was we were the Mavs wags going and watching all of them play social netball, all the other and it was this mixed social netball, all the other teams were why is there one of these teams with 10 people watching every week? But we just loved it.
Roles reversed. Talk to me about this story of the wedding. I know you've picked a date. It's the end of this year.
Yeah.
Any insight into what the wedding's looking like?
Don't want to give too much details. No, we're getting married back in Perth, which is always a massive priority for us, being close to family, and, we'll have some people fly over for it, which is really exciting. But yeah, probably a little bit non-traditional, obviously. We're not traditional man and wife couple, so there'll be a few little surprises there, but you have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'll tune in on the socials. Do you want to give it a little plug at Liv Lewis, is that right?
Yeah, Olivia R. Lewis on Insta. Wait till end of the year, but it'll be worth the wait. It'll be worth the wait.
Love it. Now let's turn our attention to quarter 2, where we dive headfirst into your netball journey and your athlete journey now that you've switched codes. This one is thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in northern Victoria. Pre-SSN, Rockingham District Netball Association, that's where you started. Did you always know that you wanted to be a netballer? Is that how it started, or it's just kind of eventuated into you becoming this unbelievable defender?
No, I think I did. I always loved netball. There was a little period there where I was probably on similar levels for netball and basketball. I started basketball quite late, probably when I was about 12 years old, and played that for a few years and really, really enjoyed it. But, you know, obviously always played netball the whole time, and it got to a point where everyone was like, you actually just need to pick one. So it's funny, I trialled for the state underage teams for both netball and basketball, and I didn't make the basketball, but I made the netball. So I was like, well, I must be better at netball, so I guess I'll stick with that. But obviously no regrets either. I remember I had a conversation with my mum recently when I was kind of talking through the move to footy, and she reminded me of a conversation we had when I'd picked netball over basketball, and she said that I'd said that, well, she'd asked me, you know, which sport would you be the saddest if you never played again? And I was like, oh, well, I guess it'd be netball. She was like, well, there's your answer. And, you know, reflecting on that when it was kind of crunch time, I'm sure we'll get into the footy, but when it was crunch time to make the decision, I was like, well, I actually think I'd be okay if I never played netball again. So anyway, it's just a fun little callback to making that decision to pick netball over basketball and then eventually footy over netball.
This is why I love this show, because we get some great insights, and I know that there's a lot of people probably out there faced with similar decisions, and whether it's work or the sport that you're choosing, but to ask a question like that is so great from your mum.
Yeah.
And an easy answer. Because,
100%. And I hadn't even remembered that conversation at the time. I think I was just like, oh yeah, I just picked netball. She was like, no, we had like this chat, and anyways, it was really nice to reflect on.
Were you always a defender? Did you ever start in goals?
Always a defender. Always. It's so funny. Like, I feel like it's a classic one when you're doing clinics with the kids, they ask you that question. I'm like, you know, they all rotate in net, set, go, but I loved defending. I loved chasing down the ball. Like, I love the idea of just like wanting to win the ball back for my team. That really just always, I've always been a defender.
So you've won best and fairest in both under 17 and under 19 national levels. You also won the Jill Mack medal back in 2018. Do you remember those seasons and those awards? And we don't play for those things, but that has to be a moment where you go, wow, maybe I could make a career out of this. And at that period of time, there's potential to sign a contract. Was there something in you that knew that you could take this further?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, you progress through the state pathways, and it's kind of hard to measure yourself, you know, when you play that local level, and, you know, you might be playing better than your teammates, but then it's like, okay, but I'm just playing, you know, in Rockingham in my club team. And then, yeah, to get those kind of accolades, I guess, moving through the pathways and, you know, at nationals, getting those kind of awards, I think that was a pretty cool moment for me. I think it felt very real that, okay, like, you know, I could play for Fever one day. You know, always wanted to play for the Diamonds as well. That was definitely in the works in my mind. So, yeah, definitely. And then getting the Jill Mack medal in 2018, I was already a training partner with Fever for the last 2 years, and that was kind of going into, you know, potentially a contract year for me. So, yeah, to win that award definitely kind of boosted my confidence a bit, but yeah, reassured me that, you know, I can set my mind to this and I can do this.
Yeah, not many people get to walk away and say they were an MVP of a nationals. You know, there's only a handful. I know Kate Maloney won one in the years that I was playing nationals, but there's plenty of athletes that don't get to do that. So to have that to your name is massive. You then move on to the Suncorp Super Netball debut in round 1 of 2019 for the Fever. Can you remember your debut game?
Oh, so well. It's so funny because netball's such a funny sport. You just don't know when you're going to debut.
No.
And especially at the time, you know, Courtney Bruce was the starting goalkeeper, and like, you know, she is going to start and she's a star. So yeah, I was just kind of like happy to be there. You know, I was like 19 years old. I remember I debuted the day before my 20th birthday, so I was still a teenager, but it was the end of the first quarter, and Courtney went down and she'd injured her elbow. And there was 10 seconds left of the first quarter, and she had to come off, and it was like, all right, Liv, like, get on and like don't fuck up the pass. So I literally, like, you know, I think it was Sasha Glasgow as well, was like out of play next to me, and I had the ball in my hands, and I was like, all right, 10 seconds, pass the ball, made the pass, it was all good. Like, I really set myself up there to like yeet the ball out of court. Made the pass, quarter time blew, went off the court, Courtney came back on. That was my debut.
That was your debut.
Yeah, my 10 seconds.
It's so different for everyone, isn't it? When
So
you get
funny.
but you always remember your debut game. Then you move across to Melbourne. Is that right? You move across to the Vixens. You get the opportunity to come across. How hard was it to make the decision to leave WA and potentially the opportunities of playing at home in front of family to then move to Melbourne for the Vixens? What was the opportunity that was presented to you, and why did you make that decision?
Yeah, it was a really turbulent time, I'll say. It was the end of the CPA, so everyone was off contract.
Well, you weren't sleeping on a couch, were you?
No, I was all good. We were still getting paid, so
Okay.
it was okay. But I wasn't offered a contract at the Fever, so I was pretty much faced with, you either stay as a training partner, or if I can't get a contract elsewhere, then that's kind of my options, which was really, really tough to swallow at that stage. I'd been at the Fever for 3 seasons and felt like I'd done okay, like hadn't gotten heaps of court time, but yeah, that was really, really tough for me. And then, yeah, Vixens essentially just threw me a life raft. I still can't believe it eventuated because, yeah, everyone was off contract. So, it was kind of just a lot of other moving parts before they were looking at their kind of last players to bring into the side. So yeah, in hindsight, the best thing that could have happened, which is often the case in these moments in your life where you go, this is the worst thing that could have happened to me. So yeah, it wasn't really so much a decision as much as this is an opportunity that I'm going to take. And it was I had a meeting with Simone on the Tuesday. Thursday I'd signed a contract, and then a month later I was on a plane to Melbourne. So it was tumultuous.
Yeah.
But also reflecting on that time, I don't think I ever would have made the decision to leave Fever. I think I really loved home. I still love Perth. I still consider it my home. And definitely never saw myself living in Melbourne. So yeah, to be here now, I'm so glad that happened.
There's 3 teams that you've played at, and we'll get quickly to the Mavs after this and then to your AFLW journey. But you've played at Fever, Vixens and the Mavericks. Vixens throw you a lifeline. Fever is your family and your home club. And then the Mavericks is where you finish your career and now you've got future opportunities. Is it hard to pick a favourite child?
Oh, absolutely. There is no favourite child, Kels. There never is. I stand by, and I'm not just saying this just to, be polite. Every single club was the right place for me at that time in my life. Fever was a great place for me to develop and kind of grow up a little bit. Vixens really pushed me and I think really showed me what a high performance environment was and, really helped develop me in a lot of ways. And then the Mavericks was an opportunity to be a part of something brand new, and I think that goes beyond the netball court. I think that's a lot of life experience, and yeah, getting to be an inaugural Maverick is something so special. So I love each club for something completely different. So I can't pick a favourite.
No, of course not. And the way that you've explained it is obviously there's a time and a place for every club, and they've all served a purpose for you. But how would you explain your time at the Mavericks? Inaugural member, and no one can ever take that away from you. What number of the Mavs are you?
Number 3.
And you remember that, don't you?
Of course, yeah.
And when the Mavericks continue on for 10 years plus, you will always and forever be number 3, which is so rare to do in the elite sporting space. But it also wasn't how the Mavs probably planned their first couple of seasons to go. On court, it wasn't happening too much. I'm sure there were challenges off the court as well. How would you explain your time at the Mavericks?
Yeah, it was just so unique. I mean, we all know how it came about. It was just a crazy time in general, and it was almost just they've had to throw together this, the way that, and it's a massive credit to, Hutchie, Simo, Shea, just 3 people to shout out, to get the club off the ground and running in such a short period of time. And, it was around the same time as the CPA negotiations where everyone was off contract, but we were committed to the Mavs, but not really signed, and we couldn't come together and train officially. So even that was really difficult. So I think it was just a really unique situation to be thrown into. In saying that, I think it was such a close group. And, I touched on before how, pretty much everyone on the team had partners, and a lot of players in the team moved from interstate. So we kind of created our own family in Melbourne, which, I'd obviously lived there for 2 years already, but that was really special as well. And then on the court, it was just hard to get, it's hard when you're a new club, forming new combinations. We had a really short pre-season that first year. I'm just watching back now and looking at how the Mavs are performing this season. I feel like it's really almost rewarding to see it all come together, even though I'm not a part of it on the court. I can see the last 2 years of the hard work that's gone into what now I feel like is really starting to build, which is really, really special.
Is there a sense of pride watching them now and feeling like you were a part of the build up to get to this point? Because they are definitely challenging teams now, but what you guys did the years before that definitely come into play. Or is there a sense of, is there bitterness at all?
Oh, no bitterness whatsoever, no. And I think, you know, maybe it would be different if I changed clubs and went and played somewhere else, but I've completely stepped back, and I still feel like, you know, like leaving the Mavs, it was on like the best possible terms. It was, and I'm still so involved with the club, which I'm really grateful for. So yeah, I look back, I look at it with pride, but I feel this real sense of investment in the success of the club, which I think, yeah, absolutely comes with being a part of the build. And it's just really rewarding to see them do so well. And also I'm like best mates with like the team, so I obviously want my friends to do well as well.
Of course. Lastly, on netball, before we move to footy, you mentioned the Diamonds and how it was always a dream to make it to the Diamonds. It's not the case for everyone, and when you reach the Diamonds, sometimes your experience in there is also not what you planned it out to be. Where do you sit with that? Because there would have been seasons that you were very close to edging into maybe a squad or a team. How does that sit with you now? Yeah,
I think it's definitely something that I've kind of matured to be okay with, if that makes sense. And, you know, I live my life knowing that there are so many things out of my control, and really only trying to worry about and focusing the things that I can control. And yeah, I think that I was just never up to Diamond standard, which I'm okay with. Well, you know, it's okay. But yeah, I think, you know, when I was coming through the pathway and as a junior, having a lot of success and getting a lot of exposure in those, like, you know, going to the AIS a lot in those Australian camps. But then you get to the big leagues and it's like, oh, this is like another level, another step up. So yeah, I think I ultimately am okay with the fact that I never played with the Diamonds. Obviously, I feel like it's a dream for every young, you know, kid playing netball, especially coming into SSN and being, you know, young and wanting to represent your country. But yeah, I look back and I'm like, well, it wasn't meant to be, and that's okay.
And you should be incredibly proud of the career that you put together. And can I add on that, not many people can go from one sport to the next, which is my segue, because I couldn't possibly be tackled in a football game. People say this, oh, would you have ever considered? Absolutely not. Let's talk about you considering AFLW and how that experience and that opportunity came about.
Yeah. Oh, I still don't know about being tackled. I know I'm mentally prepared for it, but I'm waiting for that first one where I just get run down tackled. I think I need it to just, get it out of the way. No, footy for me has been a massive part of my life, even though I've never played it. I've always loved watching it. Dockers was always my team growing up. So yeah, like just love it as a sport. And I remember when the AFLW came in, and yeah, it was just, I was like, this is just so fantastic that girls have the opportunity to play, because for me it was just not even an option at all. And I think it was probably been over the last few years of netball that, you know, in the off season the AFLW would roll around and I'd watch a bit of it and I'd just go like, I just know I would love to be out there doing that, but I've just never had the opportunity. And I kind of like would say to people like, oh, once I'm done with netball, I reckon I'll both play footy, thinking maybe it would be like club footy. And then, yeah, probably the off season going into my last season at the Mavericks, I was really like, you know, I was going into my last year of my contract, and I was like, you know, had chats with my manager, and I really just went like, I'm gonna regret it. If I don't give it a go, I'm gonna regret it. And it just felt like the right time. I definitely wasn't a decision I made overnight, and I didn't want to make the decision thinking, oh, if it doesn't work out, I'll just go back to netball. I wanted to be 100% certain that, and, you know, having the mindset that if I decide to go down this path, I need to be okay with never playing netball again or SSN again. And ultimately, obviously, came to the conclusion that, yeah, I think I'd be okay. I'm really content with the career I've had. I think I'm at a really good place in my life. I think that physically, you know, I'm not getting any younger. I'm obviously not too old yet, but, you know, I basically knew that I had to make the call, because if I was going to be ready for this season, it's going to be 27 this year. So yeah, all of these different factors came into play when I was making the decision, and ultimately I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I did it.
There you are. What are your strengths on a football field? Obviously, we know that you've got hops. We've seen it on a netball court. But what are your strengths? What have you figured out in your first pre-season?
Oh, goodness me. I mean, at the moment, it is just my height and my hops. So the girls have probably 10 years of skills on me. Ruck, probably defence a little bit. Ooh. Yeah, well, yeah, naturally probably just move that GK right across to fullback. We'll see. I was pleasantly surprised by how tall I am in the footy land, Kels. Netball, I was always told I was too short to be a GK, and then I walk in the doors at Collingwood and they're like, oh, great, we got some height here, and I'm like, yeah, I am tall. I am. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely been skills that have transferred over from netball, which is exciting, but there's a lot to learn as well, and obviously it's a much bigger field to be covering, other than, compared to my little third in goalkeeper. So it'll be a big pre-season, but I'm really excited.
We're looking ahead when we get to quarter 4 about your legacy, but I would love to talk about your legacy in terms of a human being. So I'll do the legacy piece for AFLW here. Say you play for another 5 years. You're only 27, like you said, and you play until you're 32. What are you hoping to have achieved in AFLW?
Oh, goodness me. It's so hard because I feel like I've got no kind of level of understanding of where I'm at yet. So, I don't want to...
High, Queen.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, maybe. No, I think that for me, I've always I love being a part of a team, and I've always loved that in my netball. That's why I love netball so much. I think it's the ultimate team sport. And for me, a big part of my approach in every environment that I've entered is, okay, I want to leave this place better than when I found it. And, I guess for me, going to a team like Collingwood, who hasn't seen a lot of success in the AFLW so far, I would love to, finish my career and we've won a premiership.
Love it.
That's the ultimate dream. So never won one in netball either, not at SSN. So, if I can finish my career with a premiership, I'll be a happy lady.
Before we get a little bit deeper, let's add some sugar thanks to Struddies. Gear up this season with Struddies. Shop with Struddies because they're your buddies. Struddies.com.au. Quickfire with you, Liv Lewis. Also, can I just say, love the alliteration in your name. I just adore it. Let's start with the favourite netball dress you've ever worn.
Oh, it'd have to be, it's on the screen right now, the Mavericks Pride dress. I think it's the first ever Pride dress in SSN, and I was, a part of the design process. So yeah, pretty special, that one.
And it's beautiful, so well done. I feel like the way that the wings fan out of
they did a good job.
Was that your input?
I don't think that was my input, but I'm happy with it because it looks really good.
One player, past or present, you'd love to play with?
Oh, goodness. Play with. I think, Laura Geitz was my idol growing up. But we'd play the same positions.
So are you at GD?
Yeah, maybe she can play GD.
She can play GD, yeah. That's fine. Most underrated teammate you've ever had?
Oh, it's hard. There'd be so many. I think for me, Kate Eddy is just one of the best players who has not played for the Diamonds yet. I think, she's just unreal, and being the amount of work she does out in front makes my job as a goalkeeper so much easier. So she does not get enough credit.
Oh, we love that. Kate Eddy, if you're listening, come on the show. Yeah. Favourite court to play on? Did you have a favourite?
Well, I would say if you're playing at home, no better court than RSC Arena.
Oh, yeah.
However, the worst place to play when you're the away team. So across the board, I'm going to say John Cain is an unreal netball stadium.
Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh. I think I touched on it before, just don't worry about things you can't control. And I live my life by it. Someone told me, can't remember who.
Someone, Confucius. One superstition or ritual, were you superstitious before games?
Not at all. I think I'm pretty normal, hey.
Are you type A, type B?
No, well, I've always been a type B. I think I'm maturing into more of a type A as I get older. I'm a bit of a mix of the two, but no, nothing crazy. I've just wore the same undies, but that was more of just they're just my gaming
comfort.
Undies. Yeah, I think so.
Two more. Favourite moment of your career so far?
Favourite moment? I think that our first win as the Melbourne Mavericks was really, really special. Up on the sunny coast, but...
Molly Jovic said the same one as well.
Yeah.
And if you could relive one game, which one would it be and why? We've had a few different approaches to this.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. For me, I won a couple of state league premierships, but when we won A&L back in the day, it's now called, it's evolved into SSN Reserves, for Western Sting, that was a really, really just fantastic game to be a part of. I was 17. We were not expected to win. Sophie Garvin got player of the tournament, as she does. She was a star just before she got picked up by the Swifts, and it was just a really fun team to be a part of. We beat Victoria.
I was going to say.
I was like, this is unreal.
I was going to say, who did you beat? Yeah, I think I remember that period of time. It was like WA were just this up-and-coming young team. You guys were superstars, and there's a number of players that went on to play SSN or ANZ Championship out of that.
Yeah, there was like a mix of old girls and like real young ones, which was like a fun mix because there was, some legends of WA netball like Lisa Millman, Lyndall Road, Tess Kransberg, people that, I don't know, any of the listeners know.
No, they would know.
And then like myself, like Sophie, like Nat Bright was in the team. He was in like a, up and coming state player. And there was just a bunch of us and we just had a lot of fun.
We love it. Liv, now we have had our sugar. Let's get into the more personal conversations. We've touched on your relationship with Riley, but I think one of the best things about you is your authenticity. You show up exactly as you are, whether you're emceeing, commentating, netballing, whatever you're doing, you are exactly yourself. You've also often spoken about your journey with your identity over time. What has that process of understanding yourself been like?
Yeah, I think it's obviously just continuing. It's not a finished product, I'd say. Yeah, I think for me, it has been, a journey for sure. I love that I feel really comfortable in who I am and, my identity and being comfortable enough to share that as well. And I'm completely understanding of people who, maybe do identify in ways that they don't feel like they can publicly be or, even in their private lives. So I feel really lucky that I feel emboldened to do that. And I think that, I have understood the importance and really lived that because of the people before me, like Stacey Francis Bayman, Ash Brazel, who are out as netballers, and it's not like they even really did anything other than be themselves, which helped enable me to feel like I could be myself. So, to me, if I feel like I can be comfortable enough to just share that part of me, then hopefully I can be that person for someone else. So. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
Can you tell us about your relationship with those two players? Is it seeing how they lived out their netball careers, or is it a genuine personal relationship where you've talked about potentially the struggles of being out and proud in netball?
Yeah, I think for me, Braz is probably someone who, more so from afar, we've definitely had conversations, and she's always someone who I feel like if I needed to message Braz about something, I could. We never played together. She went to Pies before I came really into the Fever environment. But at that stage, I think even more importantly, she was in the Fever environment, pushing Diamonds environment as well, and I was just like a kid coming through the pathways. I might not have even realised at that time that I was gay, but knowing that Braz was still able to play netball and it was like a normal thing, like probably just subconsciously was like cool. And then being in Fever and playing with Stacey Francis Bayman, who with her partner Sarah, again, like she was just herself. She was just, I have a partner, I'm like, who's a girl, all good. And chained to her, I feel like she's a really good example of someone who just turns up so authentically herself, and just like without any shame. She is just Stacey is Stacey, and I love that about her. And I feel like we've got a really good relationship, and I feel like she's really inspired me in those ways as well.
You talked about people like Stacey Francis Bayman and her relationship with shame. What's your relationship with it like? Have you ever felt like there was a moment where you didn't feel like you could be yourself in netball?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think, luckily for me, I feel like netball has always been a really, safe place for me, and I'm completely understanding that that's not always the case for people. But I think that, I've always been in environments that have made me feel really, championed me to be myself. And, I think that when we were building the Mavs, that was a value that everyone across the board really wanted to, strengthen in the team and really set as a foundation is, people being able to be their authentic selves and making sure that, everyone is empowered to do that. So I think that's something that I'm really lucky that I've had that experience, and then something that I've been able to also really act out in the real world and really make a value in a new club as well.
Only if you're comfortable sharing this, but you mentioned just before, I didn't really know if I was gay or how I was feeling. Can you talk us through experiencing that and then figuring out, no, I'm very comfortable in who I am and this is now my journey?
Yeah, I think it probably came almost naturally to me, more so just because of the kind of personality I am, and you know, I feel like it was hard to come to terms with at the time, for sure. But I think that, you know, as time went on, and, you know, I think being with Riley as well, I think has really helped ground me in that, in a way. And, you know, I don't really label my sexuality at all. But I think, you know, obviously being in a relationship with a woman publicly, you know, puts a label on me, which is completely fine. But yeah, just I think that I've been so empowered to just be myself in that, and I feel like it's never been my identity, it's just been a part of who I am. So I think that that's also helped.
If you were to give a young listener out there any advice on maybe something that you wish you knew earlier, or how to go about having conversations, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I think it's so hard, because it's sometimes I still feel like I don't know if I'm qualified to give this advice, even though I am living it. But honestly, just it's okay. And it's okay to not know either, I think, as well. I think that's probably something I grappled with a little bit, was this unsure or feeling like I had to fit in a certain box, and you really don't. And you know, I'm only 26 now. I might even just, life goes on, you know? So, you know, when you're figuring things out, just know that whatever it is, it's okay. And if you have people that you trust that you can talk to about it, definitely do that. Don't feel like you're alone, because there are 100% people that you can turn to who feel the same way or know how you're feeling.
And your inbox is always open?
Always open, 100%. Yes, absolutely. Olivia Lewis, on a plug, just slide in and, you know, we can have a chat.
Talk to me about your relationship with labels, because I find that so interesting, and I probably sit very much on the same side with you, and that's around anything in life, not just your sexuality, not just you're a netballer and that's your identity. What is your relationship with labels if it's, I don't like to be in a box?
Yeah, I think it's a funny one. I think naturally people want to know where to put you, which I guess is where labels come in. And I know that, you know, people love having these labels as well. So I think everyone is completely different. But for me, I think it's probably just maybe not feeling like I completely identify with a label that is available. So therefore I don't want to put myself in a box. You know, initially I probably maybe thought I was bisexual, and now it's well, I don't really feel that way now either. So it's a funny one. But yeah, I think that the labels are fantastic for people who feel like they want to connect and identify with a certain identity, but it's not for everyone either. So, and I think that people often will ask oh, are you bi? Are you gay? Are you lesbian? It's well, I don't know. We don't have to call it anything, you know?
I love your take on this, and I always think that this section is so critical when we're talking to everyone out. Everyone is so different. We show up in our own ways, and I love the idea of not labelling things, but if you do like that, then that's great as well. Liv, you are a very authentic person. I love sitting here and talking to you about stuff that is more important than sport.
There is more to life than sport, funnily enough, Kel. So, yeah, I love chatting to you too.
Let's move on to quarter four. Liv, we're coming to the end of the podcast now, and this is the part we love. It's the legacy quarter thanks to HCF. It's a chance to reflect, look back, but also look forward. And the first question of the fourth quarter is, what is your HCF moment that matters?
It's a great question. I think for me, when I look at my life so far, a really defining moment was moving to Melbourne. And I think that a lot of, you know, opportunities have come from that. I think a lot of personal growth have come from that. So if I could go back and tell my 22-year-old self, it's okay that FIBA don't want to offer you a contract, you will love Melbourne, it will be the best thing that ever happened to you, I would.
That's crazy. That's just when one door closes, it's what my mum used to say.
Sliding doors.
Yep, another one opens and you've got to take it.
Absolutely.
If you look across your journey so far, what makes you the most proud of how you've shown up?
I think, we've touched on a lot of stuff, but yeah, I remember going into the inclusion pride round at the Vixens and being like, I want to speak up on this. I feel like I have a story to tell and feel like, I want to kind of show this part of myself, and I feel like I'm pretty proud of that and sharing my journey, and that was kind of the first time that I did that.
If we were to look forward 20 years' time and people were to say, who is Liv Lewis, what do you hope they say about you?
Funny, hot. No, I think that for me, I would hope that they would say that Liv is completely herself, no matter what room she's in, no matter who she's around, she is herself, and she makes me feel like I can be myself too.
And the next chapter for you, what does it look like?
Footy. So, the next chapter is definitely, obviously getting married at the end of the year, which is massive personally. I'd like to think that life won't change too much. We live together and, we're back in Melbourne living our lives. But footy is a big chapter. It's a big unknown. Signed at Collingwood for 2 years and I'd love to go beyond that, all things going well. So, it's really exciting.
Could end up back at Freo Dockers.
Oh, goodness me.
Yeah, full circle moment.
Could be.
Well, we finished this episode and we spoke about this before we actually got on air. You said, I've got a lot of words to say, I've got a lot to get out. I want to give the floor to you. Is there anything that you could look down the barrel and say to anyone at home? Bit of Liv advice, maybe.
Of course. All right, I'm down the barrel right here. Is this, yep. Okay. Hi, everyone watching at home. I'm Liv Lewis, and I just want to tell you that you're amazing, you're incredible, you have strengths, you have talents, you have things that people value you for, and most importantly, you should find the things that you value about yourself and go out into the world and give them. Be kind, be yourself, everyone else is taken, and have fun with life as much as you can.
What a wrap to this episode. Thank you so much for coming on, Liv Lewis. It's been a pleasure to sit down and talk all things you and what's ahead, and I can't wait to follow the journey.
Thanks, Kels. Thanks for having me. Woo!
This has been Centre Court, thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in Northern Victoria.